Well, my story goes like this. For years I wandered in sin and did my own thing and rebelled against God and got in all kinds of trouble. And then at age 5, I gave my heart to Christ in a little cabin in North Carolina. I say that just to say that you know, I mean, a lot of these guys have got these incredibly detailed stories. I did this, I did that, I went to prison. I was raised in a Christian family. And I knew at age 5 or 6, laying in a sleeping bag, that I was going to spend the rest of my life in ministry. I say that because we were having a sleepover at a friend's house, and the lady came by and she said, "Billy, did you say your prayers?" "Yes." "Jimmy, did you say your prayers?" "Yes." "Michael, did you say your prayers?" "Yes." "Marty, did you say your prayers?" "Nope." "No? Why didn't you say your prayers?" I said, "Because I'm having church." She said, "What do you mean you're having church?" I said, "Well," and I don't, you know, looking back on this, the mind of a 5-year-old, I'm not sure what this meant, but I said, "Well, I'm laying here and I'm directing the congregation and singing, and then I take an offering." Somehow at an early age I knew that was part of worship, right? You got to take an offering, and then I would actually preach a message and I'd fall asleep. And I think that was the Spirit of God telling me at a very young age, this is what you're going to be doing. And at age 17, I knew that I'd spend the rest of my life in ministry. That's when I said yes to a call to God. What, is it not on?
You turned that microphone on yet?
Yeah, isn't that on? Yeah. How's that?
Much better.
Is that better? You want me to start over? For years I wandered in sin.
You just learn from the beginning?
Yeah, really. Married my wife at age 19. We've been married 40 years. This summer, yeah. It's been tough, but that's another story. In 1988, I had a very weird experience. I can't give you chapter and verse to explain it, but it's simply like this. We were going down to San Diego to a class reunion at Point Loma Nazarene College. As we came through what would be Rancho, California then, I looked at my wife, and I'm driving, and I said, "Did you feel that?" And as soon as I said that, I realized how ludicrous that was, and I expected her to say, "Did I feel what?" And she said, "Yeah, I did." She said, "Well, what was that?" I said, "I don't know. It was like a heaviness on the car." And I said, "Where are we?" She says, "I don't know." And we saw a big sign on the side of the road that said Rancho, California. So we went on to the reunion, and when on the way back, we pulled off at Rancho California Road, and there's I think it's a Del Taco on the other side of the road. And we pulled in, and we got a couple of drinks, and we just sat there and talked to people and said, "What is this place? What's going on?" And there were these little trucks with ladders and tools in the back, and there's just all this activity of building. How many of you were here in 88, 89? You know what I'm talking about. The rest of you guys are from Orange County. Anyway. And it was just a beehive of activity. And went back to my youth job. I spent 15 years in youth ministry. And the church came to me, the denomination came to me, and by then I was in Fuller Theological Seminary. And I was doing work on church growth and church planning. And they said, "Have you ever considered planting a church?" I said, "Yeah, I thought so." And they said, "Well, here's 5 places we're looking at." And I said, "Okay, you know, but I know that the most important thing is vision, and I don't have a vision for that area." And they said, "Well, is there any place you do have a vision for? Some place you think God might be calling you?" I said, "No, not really. I'd like to check out this place called Rancho, California." And so in '88, we came out here. I found Pastor Steve Strickman's. Anybody know him? And I went to him and asked him about the area, and I said, "I'd like your permission to plant a church in the Temecula area." He said, why do you need my permission?" I said, "Well, I perceive that you are the bishop of the valley." So to this day, I see him, I always refer to him as the bishop. And in 1998, we came out here and we started knocking on doors. Planted the Lambs Fellowship in Murrieta, it's now Center Point, and today I attend Lambs Fellowship in Lake Elsinore. I became restless. I did some mission work overseas, and God began to work on my heart for the lost. I knew that we were supposed to be standing on the promises, but I didn't think we were supposed to be sitting on the premises. And the church in America, folks, is stagnant. Okay? Now, I'm not throwing rocks at the church. I am the church. You are the church. The bottom line is the church in America is not growing. Do you understand that? We are in decline. Now, if you're like me, I feel that right there in my chest. I feel an angst in my chest. The church is in decline. Say that with me. The church is in decline. We're losing the battle. The fastest growing religion in the United States of America is Islam. Now, your church might be growing, or your church might be growing, or your church might be growing, but the body of Christ in America is not growing. What we're doing is we're taking a bunch of guys from your church and picking them up and moving them over to this church, and then this church is boasting that they're growing. But mark my words, in less than a year, those will pick up and they'll move over here to this church, and now this church can say they're growing. Let me give you a statistic. By the way, did you know that 37.8 of all statistics that are given in a speech are made up on the spot?
Don't let the truth get away with a good story.
That's right. We know from church growth studies that it takes a person. If Gary leaves his church and comes over to this church, it takes a Gary about a year to get involved, to be known, to be trusted, before they will use him as a Sunday school teacher or a board member or a worshiper. It takes about a year for him to lock into this church. Second statistic, the average stay of a Christian today in a local church is less than 1 year. What that means is we remain ineffective. We remain rookies, newbies, the new guy every year. And I became so frustrated with that in pastoring the church. You know, I've met so many people that used to go to Lamb's. And I bet there's people that used to go to your church. And so there came a time when I felt like I wasn't pastoring the sheep. I wasn't shepherding the sheep. I was beating the sheep. And that's when I knew that probably something had to change. I pastored the church for 13 years. So I needed something to do on my day off. Because after hanging out with you guys all day Sunday, I need to get away. And I bought a motorcycle. Never ridden a motorcycle in my whole life. Went out and bought a Harley Davidson.
Amen.
Couldn't drive it home because I didn't know how to ride one. So they delivered it and put it in my garage. I said, back it in. Backed it in. For 2 days, I walked around and just looked at it. Polished it. Wife would find me at 2 o'clock in the morning in the garage just looking at it. One day I decided I should ride this thing. And I got on it. I'm not making this up. I'm sitting on it, and something says to me, if you let out that clutch, you're going to die. Honest to God, I said, if I let out this clutch, I'm going to die. And I said, here we go. I'm just going to go around the block, and then I'll be back, and I'll be done for the day. Call it a day, and we'll come back and do it tomorrow. 50 miles later, I realized I'd found a new love in my life. I know what it feels like to be a cowboy riding across the prairie, you know, with the wind blowing in your hair, well, in my beard, and just feeling the freedom of the wind and riding. Then one day, I had a flat tire on my motorcycle, on the rear tire. And I don't know a canuter valve from a muffler bearing, so I had to get somebody to come out and help me. And I called Quaid Harley Davidson. They sent this young man out named Michael Butters. Michael was a scary dude. He was a biker. I was a yuppie pastor. Only guy in town riding a Harley with polyester, but you know. And I was trying to warm up to this guy, and he was just prickly, and he just kind of mumbled and kind of grumbled, and he wasn't really into talking or being friendly. He just wanted to get my bike on the truck and get it back down to the dealership. And so on the way back, I'm just feeling, I'm passionate about the church. We need to share our faith. We need to get outside the church. We got to get out of the pew. We got to get into the streets. And I'm riding with this guy, and I'm thinking, I need to tell this guy about Jesus, or at least just introduce myself. Instead, I sat here like this the whole way to the dealership. Two days later, Michael was dead. 2 days after I met him, he died. He was killed out on 79 in a motorcycle accident. Do you think that hurt Mr. Evangelistic? You think my own sin came home? And I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't have a place to put that. I've been very hard on my congregation about sharing your faith and sharing your faith and sharing your faith. But I couldn't cross the street for this guy. So I went down to the dealership, and Rich Quaid was there, and I said, man, I'm so sorry to hear about Michael. He said, yeah, it's a horrible thing. He was like a pet around here. He was 19 years old. He didn't have any family. That was his family. I said, I'm a new writer. I'm a new hog member. I'm a local pastor. I don't know. Is there anything I can do? And he said, Pastor, this place is so effed up. You can do anything you want. You know what? No, catch this. What do we do in our churches? We want people to come. So we bring in a famous basketball star. Or we put on a really elaborate VBS. Or we bring in a concert. Or we even do a special teaching. We want to get them to come to our church. But the Great Commission says go. The Great Commission doesn't say build a building and get them to come. That's just for us. That's where we're supposed to get our encouragement and our growth. But evangelism doesn't happen necessarily in our churches. It happens out there, at least biblically speaking. And what you need to know about the dealership there is that they've got 20, 25, maybe 30 employees. And then they have a hog chapter. Whenever you go down the freeway and you see a big sign and it says Harley Davidson, there's usually a hog chapter attached to that dealership. And that hog chapter can be anywhere between 50 and 1,000 people. Local riders. And this particular dealership at that time had about 400 members. So this guy who says that his dealership's all effed up. You can do anything you want. Just invited Mr. Evangelism into a community of over 400 people. Hello? The lights came on for me. And all I did that day was I went to the clothing department and said, hey, I'm really sorry to hear about Michael. He was at my house just the other day. How you doing? And some would cry, and some would ignore me because they knew I was a pastor. But I didn't plan on this, but I spent the better part of that entire day just loving on those people. Now here's the key. Those folks would never have come to my church. And they likely would not come to your church. You say, well, why won't they come to our church? We got an awesome worship team. Because they listen to worship all day, all week long, right? And we got a great pastor. We got a great children. How many of you have ever been to a service at a Jehovah's Witness Kingdom Hall? Why not? Why not? I don't know what goes on in there. They don't know what goes on in our churches either. They should, because they've seen lots of examples of it on television and in the movies. I saw Blues Brothers. I know what happens at the church. You guys do cartwheels down the road, down the aisle, right? You guys, you jump up and down, you sing, you shout, you shake snakes, you speak in tongues, you grab people, shave a cat. I don't know what you do in your church. They're not coming to our church. They're freaked out about our churches. I don't know what goes inside that building. So we started going to them. One day we rode into the church parking lot, Lamb's Fellowship, and someone saw 4 or 5 of us who had kind of picked up on this idea that this was a great mission field. And somebody said, "Oh look, here comes the black sheep of the flock." And the name stuck. Today, Black Sheep's, we've got 22 chapters in Southern California. We're in 38 states, Canada, Mexico, Australia, and we hope to get back into Europe. Our ministry in Europe is largely based on the military there, and with the downsizing of the military, a lot of them have come back home, so we kind of lost our position there. But guys, here's the deal. You think, that's cool, but this doesn't have anything to do with me. I don't ride a motorcycle. What I want to tell you this morning with all of my heart is I'm not talking about motorcycles. I'm not talking about motorcycles. That's just my context. God said to Moses, "What do you have in your hand?" He said, "A stick." What did he do with that stick? He brought water out of a rock in the desert. He divided a Red Sea. He led a nation out of captivity into freedom. God said to David, "What do you got in your hand?" Slingshot. What did he do with that slingshot? He killed a bear, killed a lion. He killed a terrorist, the largest one we've ever seen.
Amen.
God said to Peter, "What do you got there?" A boat, a net. Go back out there. Let's throw it out again. No, man, I've been doing this all night. Trust me. Go out there and throw it out again. And what happened? He throws out the net. He pulls in more fish than they've ever had. It almost sinks the boat. But that's not really what happened. What happened was Peter, his eyes opened. I love Peter. I love this guy. He was ADD. Wasn't he? He was always either speaking out of turn, jumping out of boats, lopping off ears, you know. And everybody gets on Peter's case. Oh, Peter, he was a coward. He got out of the boat and he sank. He was the only one that got out of the boat.
That's right. That's right. Gotta get out of the boat.
There are 2 men in history recorded having walked on water. Not just Jesus. Peter walked on water. He sucked at it, but he walked on water. The message this morning is, guys, get out of the boat.
Yeah, that's right.
For Christ's sake, get out of the boat. And what do you have in your hand? You got a stick? You got a slingshot? You got a fishing net? Maybe you got a boat. Maybe you got a guitar. Maybe you play golf. Maybe you're a mechanic. God needs mechanics that will help single moms fix their cars. I've told people in churches all across the country that, I said, I don't know how it is here, but in California, we don't really know our neighbors. You know? Have I met you? Yeah, I'm your neighbor. You just moved in? No, 25 years ago. Okay. Maybe the greatest missional work you could do, and I'm dead serious with this isn't a joke, is have your wife make a plate of cookies and put your phone number inside the cookies and walk across the street and fess up and say, "Hey, I'm your neighbor. I know, we've been here 10 years, we've never met. My name's Marty. What's your name? Okay, listen, my wife made you some goodies. But what I really want to do is I want you to have my phone number. That's my personal cell phone number. It's on all night. You need anything goes bump in the middle of the night, you call me. I've done that with my neighbors around me. It's about building bridges from us to them. I know tattoo artists that is their ministry. Oh, I don't know about that. God used a stick. God can use anything that you've got. You don't have to be like me. You don't have to be like the guy next to you. You just got to do a really good you. I used to work with nice church people. And I love church people. Those are my peeps. That's who I am. But I've got a passion. I've got a passion for the guys in the world right now. I'll let you in on something. I know you didn't know this. Our country's screwed up. Our country needs Jesus. And it's not up to Greg Laurie to get him saved. It's not up to Billy Graham to get him saved. You know who is more awesome than Billy Graham? The Sunday school teacher that led Billy Graham to Christ. Are you involved in your local church? Are you standing on the promises or sitting on the premises? Are you using your gifts and your talents in your church? Are you going to be there a year from now? Or are we just going to remain ineffective in this valley and just bounce from church to church, trading members? I don't think we have much time left. I'm not an eschatologist, but I think our time is short. I believe in the return of Christ. I think He's coming back soon. And I used to work with nice church people, but I'm loving these people I deal with. I'll close you with one story. And that'll put me at 22 minutes. I'm sitting down at the dealership early on. And I'm sitting there, and they have hamburgers and hot dogs on the weekends. So it's a place to hang out. Hanging out is great ministry. Right. Waiting for God to do something. As long as you walk into it knowing that's what you're doing. God, I'm going to go get a burger. Give me a divine appointment, please. So I'm sitting there, and I'm eating my burger. There's people coming and going. And at the end of the table, there's this crusty old guy. We deal with some nasty characters. We deal with big, hairy, tattooed, pierced, bro, you know, scary looking, does bags with long hair and rusty knuckles, and we deal with their husbands too, but do you guys know the difference between a Hoover vacuum cleaner and a Harley Davidson motorcycle? It's just the location of the dirt bag is on the phone. And this guy's sitting at the other end of the table. And a guy, one of the guys comes walking in and he goes, "Hey Marty, how you doing?" Or no, he said, "Hey Pastor, how you doing?" I said, "Hey, good. And the guy at the other end takes this magazine he's reading, and he goes, "Pastor? What the hell is a pastor doing here?" I said, "I'm just eating my burger." He says, "Hey, I got to ask you a question. I've always wanted to get a religious opinion on something." I said, "Okay." And he comes over and he goes, "Check this out. What do you think of that?" It was a Playboy. And he opened it up in front of me. The only thing I could think to say was, "I think our God is an amazing creator." I think she had a little more help than God. That's another story. And I love those people. That was Hank. Hank started riding with us. "Can I ride with you guys?" "Yeah." "Do I got to put a fish on my bike?" "No." Hank was late 60s and he got married. He says, "Would you do my wedding?" I said, "Hank, I'd be honored to do your wedding." So we gathered in front of the bar. I go to some weird places, guys. Gathered everybody up and I opened up and I said, "Marriage is a holy and sacred occasion. which begs the question, what is Hank doing here? And they all laughed. And I went through the ceremony. I took them through Ephesians 5 and talked about Christ and his bride, and how the groom is supposed to treat the bride and how the bride is supposed to submit. And I told them about Jesus. And as a result of that, some people said, hey, my mom's dying of cancer. Would you be willing to come by the hospital and do your thing? And I go to the dealership, and someone's always pulling me aside and going, hey, you got a minute? They found a lump on my wife's breast. Hey, preacher, my kid, he just went to jail for doing drugs. Can you give me a few minutes to talk? Here's the point. Whether it's on the golf course or in the school or in your neighborhood, ministry is waiting to happen.
Right. Yeah. Yes, sir.
It's waiting to happen. But we've got to get outside of our pews. I'm not anti-church, because in Black Sheep, you have to belong to a church.
Right.
You can't just be a Lone Ranger Christian. You have to belong to the church. We call the church the bucket. If you're going to be fishers of men, you got to have a bucket to bring them back to.
That's right.
Bro is a fish that ended up in our bucket. And he's about as fishy as we get. Father in heaven, thank you for dying for our sins. May we not be selfish with that. I know you don't want us running around throwing flyers and tracts out of airplanes, but show us what our stick is. Every man in here is a missionary, a man of God, called to share their faith. Some of us are terrified about doing that. Some of us don't have a clue how to do that. I pray that you would begin to open eyes, open hearts, open ears, and make a way for that to happen. Show us what our role is in this valley, Lord. In Jesus' name. Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved. How then can they call on the one that they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one whom they have not heard? And how can they hear without somebody preaching to them? And how can they preach unless they are sent? As it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. Amen? Amen.